I'm using the stream today so I can address everyone at once, including those of you face-to-face and those of you who may be watching on the stream. I'll give you all a few minutes, or not even a few minutes, but I'll let you all join the stream as you can, but of course this will be archived for later viewing if you need it. I mainly wanted to have just to make things a little bit easier on me, just kind of say a few things once, so I can put them on the screen here, and if you have questions, I can answer them here. But just to kind of get everyone on the same page, I thought it'd be useful to stream at least for a little while during class today. So my plan is to kind of update you all on the homepage assignment, or kind of see where you are with it, and talk about my goals for it and where I would like for you to be, and then basically try to troubleshoot or help you all figure some things out as you prepare to do this. So let me talk about a few things here. First of all, the challenge of this kind of project is that I know many of you are already pretty much done with yours, and some of you are still trying to figure out how to get started. And so it's kind of hard to address that group with the large group of you all at those different points in the project. So let me show you a couple things that you can do if you are already done or nearing done, and then I'll come back to those of you who might still need to work a bit. So let me switch off some of these. Here we go. So this is a browser. I'm just going to need to get into Canvas here and get the right window open. I'm going to show you something. So my idea is ultimately to connect all these together via some web rings, which is kind of like the GeoCities idea. We need to figure out what those topics are going to be. That's something I hope to hear from you about today, what your websites are about. But in order to try out the web ring concept, I have started setting up some software that'll do this for us. I found this software. The software is 20 years old, and so it's kind of working. It's incredibly simple, so I think that's why it's still working, is that there's really just not much that it does. But I've kind of hacked together this homepage for this ancient software that will allow us to share and become part of the same web ring once we get it set up and running. So if you feel like you're done, or you feel like you have definitely figured out your web page's location on the web, then I'd like for you to go here and help me test out this web ring software by trying to add yourself to the web ring. So this is at webrings.dgst101.net/test. It's linked in the assignment. I'm not going to put it in Discord because I don't want people to jump here without an explanation. So this is my explanation, that this is what this is. When you type in your URL, it needs to start with HTTP and it needs to work. There is no validation on this software. It just lets you dump your URL in there and then it says, thank you, that's it. So if you give it a bad URL, it'll be a broken link in the web ring chain. So I can fix that, but let's try to avoid that by having a fully realized URL. Now, you don't have to be done with your web page. It's just a URL. So this is just going to point to whatever state your web page is in at the time that someone clicks on it. Yeah, so if you know where it is already, you can just go ahead and put it in there, even if it's just a placeholder site for now. So please go ahead and do that now. If you watched me explain that and that makes sense to you, all you're doing is typing it in. So for example, I don't know, this is http web.archive.org. That's their URL, and so I would just Control-V and paste that in there. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to add it, but it should look something like this when you paste yours in terms of starting with HTTP and actually pointing to a web page that works. So please try that, and as you do, I believe I can actually look at them here. Yeah, good. Okay, great. So you already did that. Thank you. So this is the list of URLs in our web ring currently, and these are just, I was testing with a few of these. So please take a look and do that. And Rachel asks on the Discord if we are still working on it. Is it okay to add as long as the URL won't change? Yes, it is. So if you know the URL, go ahead and add it, even if you're not done yet. But if you're confident that that's the URL that it's going to be at, then please do that. Some of you, I think, we're still deciding about, like, is it just the domain, the subdomain, like how is here, or is it going to be like subdomain, domain / horses.html, or whatever yours happens to be about. And both of those approaches are fine, but you need to commit to one or the other before you submit to this web ring here. Okay, so great, there you go. Yeah, so that's the other way of doing it with the homepage, Pokemon homepage.html. This is Emily. So does it work yet?
I have like one thing on there.
Okay.
It works, but
Okay.
I haven't added anything to it yet.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so this is where it's going to be. So great. Yeah, yeah, and it can be long. So the idea then with the web ring, I wanted to have some in here so I can show you what a web ring actually does. Is this. So what I'm going to, so if those of you who submitted it, it's taking the success page should take you, should show you something that looks like this, or the source code for something that looks like this. So the idea is that you can copy and paste this source. I mean, you could go here and copy and paste this anyway, but once you've submitted your URL, it gives you some HTML code to copy and paste, and that HTML code that you can copy and paste should produce this as an embeddable thing. And this is how you indicate your membership in this web ring, by including this snippet of HTML on your web page. And once you've done that, then these links should work. So I should be able to click next, and then it takes a second to redirect, and then it takes you to one of the next site in the web ring. And they are in order, so it will always be the same next and the same previous one, or you can click on random. So, oh, nice, very nice. Kai, this is yours? Excellent. Yeah, I was wondering, I saw the DS9 as the subdomain, and I was hoping this would be Deep Space Nine. So, very appropriate for the era, and for the style is definitely consistent with the like the Dungeons and Dragons ones that you posted earlier. So yeah, great look, and I love the twinkly stars background GIF. That is definitely on brand for GeoCities. So yeah, nicely done. Is it? Okay.
I didn't really have like that many ideas for what to list on there.
Okay.
So that's what I was going through the GeoCities archive this morning.
Yeah, it looks good though. So which transmisogynistic one are you trying to remember?
The one where Quark like dresses up as a woman to have to get. I feel like that one.
Oh yeah.
It's like season 6 or something.
I try.
Do you not remember the name?
Yeah, I don't either. But I do vaguely remember that he had to seduce somebody or something awkward, I think. Yeah, but that show had a lot of other interesting. Like, I don't know. I'd like to go back. I need to go back and rewatch it. But they did a lot of interesting things in terms of trans identity with the Trill character arcs, where characters would change bodies essentially and have to negotiate the gender of their new body. And I thought there's lots of interesting opportunities there. At least I don't recall how well that was done, but I mean there was the first. Yeah, and it was like technically not lesbian because she's. I mean, or you could retcon it, right? Because like they were two women kissing on TV, right? The two actors, but the Dax symbiote was originally gendered masculine, and so it's like you could explain it that way, I guess. But interesting, TV trivia as far as being first lesbian kiss on TV. Okay, great. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, a lot of great episodes. Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't want to go too far on a tangent, but like Deep Space Nine is also a great example of like why someone would want a GeoCities webpage, because it was such a complex TV show, and it was one of the first really complex TV shows that I remember anyway that was pretty accessible, but you had really long running story arcs that you had to pay attention to, and if you missed an episode, that you could be really lost. And it's not like you could just pull up the previous episode on Netflix, like you just missed that episode, and so now you don't know what's going on. They had really long running serial storylines, as opposed to a lot of most other shows at the time, including the other Star Trek shows, where it was like a different planet every week, and like it was a self-contained story. DS9 started that way, but they eventually ended up with season-long storylines that if you missed it, you didn't get it. So it would make sense to have a GeoCities page explaining, here's the episode summaries, here's what you may have missed, and here's what I think is going to happen next. And like you could definitely imagine a reason for having a website. So yeah, Kira was great. I wish that she had more to do beyond that series as a character. That was a really good character. I agree. Yeah, Kai Wen was a good villain. I mean, people like to talk about Gul Dukat as like the great complex villain of that TV show, but I think Kai Wen was also nice, interestingly complex by the end, if I remember correctly. She kind of turn things around. Anyway, I get excited about DS9. I'm trying to get my kids into Star Trek right now, and it's a slow conversion. I don't think they're ready for DS9, but we're trying a few TNG episodes, like with Wesley Crusher episodes, to get them into it a little bit more. Anyway, sorry, I get excited about DS9. Yeah, so are there others in here yet? Let me see. There we go. Let's see if anyone else has added their sites to the web ring yet. Yeah, okay, retro book recs. Interesting, nice. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at it. All right, great, yeah. Cool, so another good start, Alex. So good to see some images. You figured out how to put an image in there. I'm wondering if this is if these books are your actual recommendations, or if these are, is this just a generic image for books? But either way, it's fine. So what we'll start seeing, like I'll remove these placeholder ones that I just put in to test it, and then it'll just be actual content now. And so once you've added yourself to this ring, then make sure you put that code there. So if somebody could find Katya's DS9 site and then click next, the next link in the DGSC 395 web ring might take her, or will take you to Emily's page, and then Emily's page will link to Alex's page, and then that's the ring. So this seems to be working. This is good. But what I'd like to do is more topical web rings. There's enough of you in this class that I think we could have several different web ring topics. So TV might be one. In terms of Pokemon, Emily, do you know which Pokemon you plan to talk about, like the TV series or the card game or the comics? Or the...
My plan was like when thinking about the retro homepage, I was like, what would past me be really interested in? So
Yeah.
I used to really love trading like the Pokemon cards when I was a kid. So
Excellent.
I figured I'd make like a website about like how to like figure out the rarity of them, just like a card website. I feel like would be cool.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. It sounds like a great topic. Maybe not the same topic as, or same general topic as Katya's site. So there might need to be a gaming web ring, or maybe just a Pokemon one, depending on if other people want to do Pokemon. Yeah, so anybody watching the stream, if you could just, you can let me know I'm interested to hear what other people are talking about or planning to do their websites about. So let me know on the stream if you've already figured yours out. Maggie, have you figured yours out yet? Still thinking?
I'm lost in what I'm gonna do.
Okay, that's fine. Still, that's okay. Abby, do you have an idea yet?
Yeah, no, not yet. I mean, I have like my page, but I don't know what I'm doing with it yet.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I think there's different places to be with this process, and that's a good place to be too. So, okay, great. So once I've got a sense of who the different web rings are, like setting up this web ring was like manual. Like I had to write a lot of this code, and so I need to make it. It's not easy to copy and paste, and now I've got a new web ring. Like I have to actually sort of remake a lot of it manually, which is fine. But I will kind of need to know ahead of time what the topics are. So I will go ahead and make a TV one and then gaming one, and then we'll see if there's other topics that don't quite fit into either of the, or I guess literature or books for Alex's, and then. We'll see what other ones we may need. I'll keep them kind of general like that, so that it's possible to imagine different ways to fit things into it. Okay, cool. So looks like this is coming along. All right, so let me show you. I want to get into kind of, so for those of you who are still trying to figure out where you are in this project and kind of maybe even how to get started, I want to back up a little bit and go through the workflow a little bit again. I've done this before, but I think doing it multiple times is fine. I mean, it's good for people to hear it multiple times. And then I want to put it there, but then I want to put it together for you. So Alex has asked, does the code for the web ring show up on our site? Not automatically, Alex, you have to copy and paste it. So when you got to that, after you submitted your link, there was a thing saying copy like a bunch of HTML code. That's what you need to copy. Or you can, and then you copy and paste that into your, where did it go? Into your source code for your web page. Or you can get it from here. I'm typing my answer here. This keyboard is still sticky. Like it still won't work. Like it's like it will work, but it just takes a second, and all of a sudden it's going to type all that junk all of a sudden in a minute here. Eventually, see, there it goes. So here now it works fine. So I will show you how to do this, but that's how you can get that code if you missed it from that success page. So yeah.
When we paste that, should that go in like the body, or is there like a footer?
It should go in the body.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean that's the short answer. Yeah. Okay. Yes. But the slightly longer answer is that what you're so because there is a footer tag, okay, but I don't really recommend it at this point because just think of the skeleton of think of the skeleton of an HTML document as literally just this. And I'll put this, make sure this is up on disk on the stream as well if I can. Not that one, that one, that one. Yeah. So this is your HTML, except I'm missing the body tag here. Let me add that. This should be all caps. So the skeleton of an HTML document is really important to kind of get this structure solidified. It's these tags contain each other. The top level or the most outer level, if you think of these as parentheses, is HTML. So it opens on line 2 in this case, and it closes on line 10. That should always be your first and your last tags when you create an HTML document. This doc type is just, it's technically not necessary, but it's a kind of preamble. And then HTML opens and then HTML closes at the very end, and that's it. You should not have any other elements called HTML within your document. It's saying all of this is HTML. That's what it is, right? So within that skeleton, the next level down from HTML should be these two things, and they should be siblings. So you've got head, opens and closes, and you've got body that opens and closes. And there should just be one head opening and closing. There should just be one body opening and closing, and they should not overlap. So the head sits on top of the body. So that's why we call it a skeleton. So it's like you're building it this way. So that's like document structure level, like making this work as a web page. So you asked about a footer, and that's much more semantic. Like that's the kind of thing you would want to put in your web page, and that's as HTML evolved as a language, HTML5 introduced much more semantic elements that are really useful when you're writing code. They should all stay in the body, but they've got things like header, article, and footer, which is very useful semantically. I don't usually introduce it that way though, because people get confused about head versus header. Those are very different, and so but they sound very similar. So I don't usually introduce that structure, but
so is
yes.
One a header, or is that just the same thing, or are those different?
They are different. H1 is there we go. H1 is a it's a block level element, so it means it'll contain text. Pokemon. I don't know how to type the accent mark on this computer, so I'll just type Pokemon. H1 is it's a block level element, meaning it's going to make a rectangle on the page. You won't see the outlines of the rectangle unless you define them, but it's there, and it's a heading. So H1 is, the one there means this is the most important heading on the page. So you would usually just have one H1 element because you just have one title for your web page. So in your case, you probably made the Pokemon would be your H1. If you have sections of your page, that's where H2s can be useful. So in you might have H2, history of Pokemon, and then I'll write some stuff here, and then you might have another H2 that's like my best cards, you know, and so on. So you'd have multiple H2s for each thing. So the H2 doesn't mean second, it means secondary. Like this means the second level of importance in an outline structure.
So the text would probably be like smaller than the H1.
Yeah, it will be, but you should use it because of its significance in the document structure, not just to get a certain size. Okay. So think of these semantically as opposed to typographically, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. So this is, I'm getting into the HTML structure a little bit. Now, another interesting distinction, right? So body is the stuff you're going to see on the page, and the head is stuff that the web browser needs to know about your page in order to display it correctly. So this tends to be meta kind of information. And there's one here, a tag that you can use in the head that is pretty useful and pretty similar to the H1, but it goes in the head, so you don't actually see it on the content. It does show up somewhere though, so I'm going to show you what this does. This is my Pokemon. I'm making this different than the H1 here, just so you can see the difference, but usually these would be the same text. This is my Pokemon homepage. This, let me save that. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to open this document on my computer. I'm not uploading it to the server yet. I just want to preview what it looks like on my computer. And I'm going to do that in this Chrome window on the right, so I can have code on the left and then content on the right and see what it looks like to make sure it's what I expected. And this is a really narrow window, but you can hopefully see the difference. So yeah, so do you see, actually you might not be able to see it on the stream, but now I think you can. So do you see the difference yet? Do you see where the title tag showed up? So it's not in the visible content of the page, right? So it's not down here. It shows up in the tab up here. So this is meta, like it's telling the browser, hey, this is this title, this is this page. This is how you need to distinguish this page from other pages. In terms of just kind of semantic good best practices, your H1 and your title should usually be the same, or at least very similar, or like part of one should be in the other, something like that, just to kind of repeat that this is what this page is really about. That helps Google feel confident that it knows what your page is about, for example. Okay, so I kind of jumped into answering Emily's questions there and got into this a little bit. So let me rewind just a little bit and also check in on the stream. If anyone has any questions on the stream, let me just drop them in the chat, and I should see them. Hopefully I'll see them. All right, so what I'm going to go back to actually is what I'm doing here on my computer and kind of what you're seeing, these two windows left and right. So this on the left is Sublime Text, and Sublime Text is a text editor. It means I can write plain text in it. This is plain ASCII text. It happens to be encoded with UTF-8, but that doesn't really matter for now. This is how we, okay, good question, Gracie, I see it, I will get to you. Sublime Text lets me write code on my computer and save it on my computer, but it lets me write any kind of computer code, like Python or Perl or PHP or JavaScript or HTML in this case. And that's all computer programming is. Most of the time, it's just writing text in a special way that's going to be recognized by a program on your computer, and then it's going to do something with it. So this is what I'm doing here. I like Sublime Text. It has some nice features built into it, but as far as the file that it creates, it's no different than a file you could create with Notepad or Notepad++ or any other plain text editor. There's nothing special about that. It's just I kind of like the editor environment, the way it looks, and a couple of the plugins are nice too. But otherwise, it's just a straightforward text editor, right? So what I'm doing is I'm saving this into a location on my computer, and let me see if I pull it down a little bit. No, you can't actually see the content of it. I'm saving this document currently on my desktop. I recommend saving it not just on your desktop or just like in your documents, but in a special folder for this project, because you're likely going to have other files with this as well. So I would recommend creating a folder just for this project on your desktop or wherever. Maybe you have a 395 folder or something, but make a dedicated folder just for this project. Put this HTML file that you're creating in that folder, and you'll have a better time later on. Yeah, so let me get to Gracie's question. Where is it? So Gracie, it's not Sublime Text showing up on the web page. You're using some Sublime Text to create a web page, and then you're trying to get the web page to upload to your website. That can really be the last step. So if you're not clear on how to do that yet, that's okay. Like that's something that, like if you do it now, you kind of have to redo it when your website is done, basically. So you might just want to save that step until later. But the idea is you save it on your computer, work on it, and get it done, and then you use the file manager on your domain account, the cPanel of your domain accounts to upload it to your website. I can show you that if you'd like. Let me see. But it also, again, it's something you can do later too, just as well. So but I will show it to you just so I can answer that question, because I think others probably are wondering as well. I gotta figure out how to switch all these OBS things over. I need a new scene in OBS. That's what I'm going to do here. Okay. And this one I'm going to do. Oops, nope. I want that back. I want that. I want that. Just want to do. I'm just going to do a full desktop capture here. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to look a little weird at first, but it'll be fine in a minute. This is going to make it so I don't have to keep an eye on all my windows. So this is so you should be seeing my whole desktop now on this computer. Let me just take a look at the monitor here. Yep, good. So I can show you some things here that might be useful. So let me close some things out here. So I don't usually use this computer. This is just the instructor terminal, but you, I assume, have your own computer and you know how to create folders on it. I recommend making a dedicated folder for this project. I'm just going to call this one retro-project. And this is where I'm going to be putting files, and eventually this folder will be all of the things that I need to have to make my web page. So that's going to include at least one HTML document and probably several images, and that might be it. I don't know. Now let me go here, and in Sublime Text, I'm going to save this into that folder so that I know for sure it's the same one. So I'm going to go to File, and then Save As, and then I'm going to put it in this retro project folder that I just created. And when you create an HTML file, you need to make sure that it ends in HTML. And I'm just going to give this a different name just to make it clear what I'm doing when I do these things. Retro homepage.html, but it literally doesn't matter as long as it ends in .html. And you can double check that you've named it the right way if you look at it in the Windows Explorer or whichever kind of Explorer you're using. I have this, I don't use this computer, so it's not set up the way I normally like it. But you can tell already that this is an HTML document because it converted over to this Internet Explorer icon. Side note, I don't recommend using Internet Explorer at all, really ever, but especially not for making websites or checking websites. But that's confirming that this Windows computer recognizes and it thinks that this is an HTML document. And that's good, but I really would rather see the full file extension. So if you go in Windows, if you click on this View tab, and there's a checkbox here to show file name extensions. You really want that because that way you can verify that this is a .html document, right? You want to make sure you know the full file names because you're going to need to reference that later on. So I recommend that setting. Again, that's View and then file name extensions. I also like to see hidden items, but that's less important. Okay, so with this now, this is your basic working folder for this project, right? What you're going to also want to do is have a place on your domain to work on this. And this is where I've recommended making a subdomain. So I'm just going to get into mine here. And I've already made a few, so I'm not going to make another one. I mean, I've already made like dozens, but I'm going to use one I've already created as opposed to making a new one. But if you need help making a domain, there is a guide in the UMW domains help guides that you can use. It explains how to do it pretty well. I just need to switch into my other user. I have 3 different users. Subdomains, it's under this domains area. You can go down here and create it this way just to make sure you remember what you create and then pick that there. So I was helping someone troubleshoot something with their subdomain yesterday. Under redirection, you don't want to do anything under redirection. Just let every setting basically populate itself automatically. But as you can see here, I've got lots and lots of different subdomains. Let me see if I can find one that's not being used for something else. I did that. I think I made one. Yeah, retro homepage, that'll work. So this one already exists, and so this link right here is going to take me to what's called the document root. That is the location where this subdomain lives in my file storage area. So if I click on that, this is the place where I can put things into that subdomain so that they will appear for you to see them in the subdomain. Like right now, this is my access. This is my admin side. This is where I upload things. It's not what you can see. You're not allowed to view things in my file manager. But if I put something here, it will show up on that retro homepage .dgst101.net subdomain that I was just showing you. What is that? Is that not what it's called? My retro homepage. Yeah, sorry. You gotta get the name right. My retro homepage. Yeah, there you go. So this is a different page currently, but that was my demo from the other day. But to upload the one that I just created about Pokemon, I can click the upload button there, select a file, and then browse to that file on my computer, retrohomepage.html, then upload that. And then when I click back here, I can see it in the list of files there. Again, the upload button is kind of sometimes hard to see, but it's up here near the very top. That's all I did. I just clicked that upload button, and then I went to retrohomepage.html on my computer and uploaded that. And now I can see it here if I type in the full URL for that. So that would be /retrohomepage.html. Yeah, so there we go. So that's the same file that I was looking at on my computer a minute ago, but now it's on the website. So if I sent you this URL, you could access it.
If you edit your text edit or your Sublime text, you have to re-upload it, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So that's a great question. You don't have to delete it. You can just overwrite it, but it'll prompt you like, "Are you sure you want to upload this?" Because you're going to overwrite it. And so yeah. So I don't know if y'all heard, but Maggie had a good question. If you want to change your file, you have to change it on your computer and upload it again, right? Now that said, and I show you this with some caveats. You can edit it on the server, but I personally don't like to get my server version ahead of my local version, because then I forget, and then I make a change locally and I upload it, and it overrides a previous correction that I made. So I like to just stick to one workflow completely and not even mess with it. But you can, if it's a quick last minute change and you know you're not going to do anything else, there is a code editor built into the file manager. So if you right click it and then edit, not HTML edit, but if you just right click and edit, you have something here that looks a lot like Sublime Text. It works okay and it's fine, but I really would recommend the Sublime Text save upload workflow. Even though it's an extra step, it puts you in more control of those steps, and it helps avoid some confusion. So that's my advice. But for last minute tweaks, you can tweak that version on the server. But normally you would be working locally, save it when you're done, and then upload it, and then you're done. Then you can share it with the world. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question, KGP Gracie. I'm going to switch back to the other scene I have here so that I can show you a few more things about HTML. How are you all doing? Are you feeling okay? That's usually what I like to do. It like a temperature check. Any questions? Or okay, cool. Yeah, and it's hard to do with the online group because they're slightly delayed. But if you're online and you have a question, if you'd like me to rewind a bit, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to say a few more things about HTML. Now, I did put a page in the modules sequence. Like, so if you're clicking through the modules, there's a new page in there that has some of these things explained in text form. So if that's a way that you like to learn things, it's there in that form. But really, as far as learning, actually, I am going to switch this one back on briefly. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm going to switch this back briefly because I wanted to show you a couple ways you can learn HTML beyond me. Like, I can teach you a lot, but I think many people learn better on their own, or at least I learn better on my own just by trying things out until I get it working. And I encourage you to do the same. I just wanted to show you a couple. I've mentioned these before, but you can learn a lot from W3 Schools, and I really like it. It does have a lot of ads on the web pages, but if you have an ad blocker, that's not too bad. They have this here, Learn HTML, and you kind of go through it. See, it starts with the same skeleton I did. And what I like about W3 Schools is it has a built-in like practice editor. So if you see when it introduces a concept, you can click, try it yourself, and then kind of play around with something here. Click the run button to see what it looks like. And it's a completely self-contained practice like scratchpad area. It's not saved. It doesn't mean anything. Like, it's not going to be permanent, but it lets you try out something and see how it works, get a feel for it, and then you can copy and paste the working version of it into your actual code if that's what you need. But yeah, it's a good way to learn some things. Oops, I detached that. And it has these exercises too. I haven't actually used the quiz or exercise feature, but if you're not sure what to do next, if you scroll down, there's a next button, and it has next previous. It has the structure to it, and it explains it in a really kind of top-down way. Like, here's the big concept, and here are the pieces of that concept. And I do like that method for something like HTML, especially because HTML is very much a top-down, highly structured language. It's all about structure. Yeah, it even has a history. That's great. But really, it kind of gets into it here. And they're talking about using Notepad or text edit. It's the same thing as these are equivalents to Sublime Text, so you don't have to use either of those unless you'd like to. But you'll see, like if you're using Notepad, you can write HTML, but you're not going to get the syntax highlighting like you do with Sublime Text. So that's one of those things. But somebody in Discord mentioned Notepad++, which is a great tool as well. So that definitely works. It's similar to Sublime Text in terms of adding syntax highlighting, a few different features, but overall very good. But you kind of work through it and you can kind of jump in and out of it. The other thing that I like about it is for HTML that there's kind of a table of contents. So if you know specifically what you want, you can, not this one, this HTML reference, yeah. So you can look for specific elements that you want to learn more about. And there's a lot. So once you get the basic document structure and the basic syntax, a lot of HTML is just kind of figuring out which tag you need, like which element you need. And then looking up here, like how do I use that? Okay, so here's image. How do I use that? And here's a tutorial for how to use images, how to embed images in your web page. So that's a nice thing about this. Now the other tool that some people like is Codecademy. It'll take me a minute to log into it, I think, if indeed I can. Maybe I can't. Maybe I can log in with Google. Oh, okay. Really? Yeah, sure. I'm going to pay $240. Jeez, no way. Okay, don't do that. So there is a free trial, and you can do a lot with free stuff on Codecademy. I'm not going to try. I'm trying to avoid paying for it, obviously. So making sure I don't accidentally click on something. But there is a HTML CSS tutorial in here that's free. You notice I haven't given it my. Here it is. Okay. It's hard to find sometimes, but it's here. I have not given it my credit card, so I'm not paying for anything. This is still in the free version. The paid version asks you to it lets you do quizzes and stuff. But the way this works is it's very sequential. So it starts you on one point and then it moves you to the next point, to the next point, to the next point, and you can't pass a particular point until you've proven to its satisfaction that you understand the concept. My concern is that I don't know that what they're asking me to do is always the best way to do it, or at least it's not always the way I would think of it. So you can kind of get stuck where it feels kind of arbitrary, but it's fine. The other thing is I think you can get in the habit of over relying on hints within the system. But the idea basically is you try to follow their instructions and you hit run, and then it tells you if you did it right or not, and if not, you can't proceed. You see, I can't click on the next button yet because I haven't done it right. And so it's trying to tell me, did you really do this? And maybe try this. So it's a different method. Some people really like that. So if you like that, then by all means. I think once you've got a handle on HTML a little bit, I think the kind of top-down reference model on W3 Schools works better. At least for me, it works better. All right, cool. So, all right. So let's see, what else can I show you all? So are there things that you would like to see or are not sure how to do on your web page? So maybe we can take the last few minutes and talk about that. So on my kind of practice Pokemon page here, what are some things that I should do to make this look like a 90s homepage? Add a background. Okay, good idea. So let's add a background. Do you have an idea for what kind of background?
The one I was thinking of doing was fine because I don't want it to be like too busy. So what I was gonna do for mine is find from the video game, find a plain maybe field or something, like a grassy field.
Okay, let's see. I'm just going to try a couple of Google things here. So this is not what you suggested, but I kind of like this.
Yeah, no, those are nice.
What is this? Is this like a?
That's a Pokemon.
Yeah, is it a Gengar?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So I don't know. This is, oh man, Pinterest. I don't want Pinterest. But that's the kind of thing that we can use pretty well once we get it. Let me just take Pinterest off here. Let's try this again. Okay, this is better. All right, so now really you should only use images you have created yourself or have permission to use. Oh, I like that Ditto one. It looks creepy though. I don't like it. I mean, I do like it, but I don't. Let's try this one. Somebody posted this on Reddit. I guess. Oh, we're on Imager, even better. So what we can do is open these images. Let's do, oh, copy. Sorry, I'm getting kind of distracted looking. Oh, this is a nice one. Okay, let's do this one. So I'm just looking at this image by itself, and on Imager, if you're getting an Imager album link, you have to click into the individual image. So you have to make sure that it ends in something like this, like .png. So I'm going to save this to my computer, right-click Save As. On the stream, you can't see me doing this, but I'm going to save this into my retro project folder that I created, and I'm going to call it background.png. Right, so it's now just on my computer as background.png, and you'll be able to see it shortly. So let me see. Oh, you didn't even see me doing that searching, did you? But I just found an image. It's a titleable background image, and really the point is to show you how to get this onto your homepage here. So where's my? There it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some structure here. I'm going to do a retro homepage in a modern way. In other words, the way we would have done it in the past is by adding a background attribute to the body tag, but that's not how we're supposed to do it now. So I'm going to do it the way we're supposed to do it now, and it'll work just fine. So I'm adding a style element to my head, and you remember the head is where we put things like the title that are about the page. That's not the content of the page. It's things that help the page do what it needs to do. So we're going to add a style here, and we're going to add a little bit of CSS. So this is cascading style sheets. So cascading style sheets is a language built on top of HTML, and we don't have time to get into CSS right now, but we can at least use a little bit of it, and it's going to look like this. I will go ahead and type it, then I'll explain it, because it's hard to type in and explain. Okay, so that should probably work, although I'm going to go ahead and add quote marks. I'm not sure if I need quote marks or not, but I'm going to go ahead and add them. So this is kind of narrow. This is actually one line. It broke to the second line because I had the font really zoomed in. So this is CSS syntax. It's built on, it's an extrapolation of HTML, but it's more abstract. So this is identifying the body element as in what CSS calls a selector, and it's saying for the body, I want you to put this in the background. So it's background dash image colon URL background.png. So it's a lot of syntax added here, but it should work, and I'll pull it back up after let me verify that it works, and then I'll see if I can explain that. So it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Did I not save it yet? I did save it. Okay, so interesting. Okay, so it didn't work, and this is fine because this gives me an opportunity to show you how to debug things when they don't work the way you expect them to. So first of all, I need to double check that I actually named it that. So it is called background. It is called background.png, and it is in the right folder, so that's good. All right, so what am I missing? I wonder if I need to do that. Oh, okay, so here's what we need to do. So I don't know if you can see when I right click on this, but there's an inspect option. So right click and then inspect, and that lets you poke around in the source code and see what's going on. And this is giving you Chrome's version of what's going on. So the browser telling you what it thinks what it was trying to do. And it is not up to date. So you notice my style element is not even here. So that means I'm not looking at the same file. Oh, that's right, I'm not. See, this is a different location. This happens all the time, and this is why it's a good idea to keep an eye on your file names and only work in one folder at a time. So there we go. Now it's working. That's what it should look like to begin with. Let me see. Somebody had a question, I think. Maybe. Oh. Okay, so.
I know someone asked like how to center text.
Okay, we can do that. I will give you two ways to do it. Let's say I want. All right, I'll give you the old-fashioned way, which works still, and I'll give you the correct way too. So let's say we want to make my title, the H1 there, in the center. Like that's a pretty common thing to put in the center. So here's the old-fashioned way to do it. That still works, but is technically depreciated. There's a tag called center, and it is literally the word center. and you just put it before the thing you want to be centered, and then you open it before the thing you want centered, and then you close it after the thing you want centered, and it will work, probably. So it jumped over there in the middle. That's not recommended though. The explanation gets a little technical, but this is when we're talking about centering, we're talking about how it looks, and the tendency or the trend in HTML is to move presentational instructions into CSS and structural instructions into HTML. And so when we make a tag called center, we're using structure to create presentation, and that runs against the grain of what how it's supposed to work. So a better way to do it would be with a CSS declaration. So I'm going to do it that way because that's better. So it's h1 as the selector, and then I have an opening and a closing curly bracket, and then in the place where this is the actual CSS declaration, the property is text align, so text hyphen align and then center. And it accomplishes the same thing visually, but it's coded better this way. Cool. So I'll leave that up for a second, and I see somebody had a tech support question. Let's see if I can answer Brian's question on here. Okay, so I'm not totally sure I understand your question, Brian. I see your screenshots. I don't know if you're still watching, but you actually, well, I'm not sure what happens if you select that save as type. You really shouldn't have to select save as type. You really just, as you're typing the name of it, you would just go, you would just type it node3 underscore assignment dot HTML. And save as type, you could just leave the save as type as like all or whatever that default is, and that should work. I mean, ultimately, there's nothing really special about the encoding or the structure of the file. It's just named something that ends in that file extension .html. So I don't know if that's what wasn't working, but the thing to check for, maybe you might be saving it and not seeing it with the HTML file extension. That's something let's see, you're on Windows, I guess. Yeah, since you're on Windows, make sure you are displaying file extensions in your settings. Like go to the Explorer view and then look at the settings to make sure you are displaying file extensions. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that helps. I don't know if that does or not, but I can type an answer to you as well in a moment if you're not watching. Okay, so let's see. I guess we are about out of time, right? Or just even over time. Cool, so let me wrap it up. Again, once you're ready with your website, or at least you know where the domain is, whatever state it's in, once you know the domain, subdomain, the path, the full URL of it, go ahead and submit it to the web ring, and then it'll be included. And that'll be great. Again, there is no vetting on that, so if you submit a link that doesn't work, I will need to fix it manually. So if that happens, please let me know so I can fix it manually. Otherwise, the goal for this is really just to do your best with it. I don't have, like, you don't have to make it an amazing page. I hope you do, but don't worry too much about whether yours is good enough or done enough or complete enough. The point is to try to learn some HTML. And if you know no HTML right now, if this is totally new to you, then certainly getting anything done is great. So that's my goal for you, is to get something done. But if you've already had some experience, I think you can really have some fun trying to recreate some of those retro styles with the ugly tiling background graphics, or blinking text. I mean, that blinking text and marquee text, that's when the text like scrolls in from one side and goes out the other side, are really bad for accessibility. So we shouldn't do them, but you can still do those things. There used to be a tag called blink. Blink would create that blinking effect where the text would blink. You really shouldn't do that. That's extremely distracting and just sort of poor design. But if you really want to embrace the retro aesthetic, it can be done in CSS now. The blink tag is depreciated. It won't be recognized anymore. But you can set a blink display property. I won't even show you how to do it, so I don't recommend it. You can also do marquee displaying and stuff, but I'm pretty sure the marquee tag is also fully depreciated by now. And the whole history of these things, like CSS came around in like 1998 or 99, but it really took until like 10 years later before it was fully embraced by the web design community. So it still takes, it is still kind of coming into its own in some ways. But it definitely replaced the need for a lot of these things. All right, well, I hope that was helpful. I went through a lot today. I hope that helped a little bit for you on different places. If you continue to have questions, please reach out, ask in tech support. And on Friday, I might end up doing something kind of similar to this. So if you have a specific question or you get stuck on a specific point, bring that question to class on Friday or to the live stream if I do one on Friday, and I will try to answer it and demonstrate what you need to do there. But otherwise, I'd really encourage you to look at W3 Schools and Codecademy, and you can learn a tremendous amount there. I'm happy to help if I can. But yeah. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up on the stream, and I will see some of you in person on Friday. Everyone else I will see online. So hope you're doing well. Take it easy. Bye.